Hey everybody, I want to talk about red flags from a different perspective and angle than I think most people think of them or teach about them or discuss them. It's one thing to talk about red flags as like a list of things to look for, like a checklist. You got your green flags, they do this, they do this, they do that, they do this, they don't do this, they don't do that. But all of that being said, it's not a list so much as there's really just one thing that you have to look at above all else. And let me say that again so that you don't misunderstand what I'm saying. There's one thing that you should look at above all the other things that you should also be looking at. But this one thing, I believe, it's the rudder of your boat, okay? So think of it like this. Red flags are warning signs, signs of trouble, signs that this relationship is not going to work out. There's a number of them. But what they mostly boil down to is this. How quickly do you change emotionally? And how quickly do they change emotionally? You have to look at the speed of emotion changing. Because there's you in your natural state, right? You, the natural human, the natural male, natural female. You doing you being you, right? Be yourself, by yourself, all of that goodness, right? And then you come into the company of a partner, and then your partner changes you in specific ways. And I don't mean by manipulation, I just mean in general. When you start spending time around somebody, significant amounts of time, you start to change. And you can change for the better, you can change for the worse. But as we all know, with love bombing, just because things start changing for the better does not mean you're in a good position. Just because things start changing for the better does not mean you're in a good position.
Wow.
And vice versa. Some of the best relationships that we've ever had were born of adversity, where you had to face a major life challenge with somebody else, and both of you had to stick together as, life warriors and fight your way through something. So it's not the direction that you go, because when things are headed in a good direction or when they're headed in a bad direction, neither of those are going to tell you about the future of that relationship.
Oh, right.
Right? There's a big epiphany right there. So what do you look at? You have to look at the speed at which the changes occur. It's the speed. And why do I say this? Because there's such a thing as emotional stability and emotional instability. And when we say that, we always think of people who are emotionally unstable as just going from normal to freakazoids, like the people who are just losing their sheep. But it's more than that, because there's many different directions your emotions can take. And it's not just the directions to anger and frustration that compose emotional stability. If you've ever known anybody with bipolar disorders, they can actually swing to the extreme happy side. They call it mania, right? And then the extreme depressed side. So it goes in all directions. But you have to look at the speed, because someone who is emotionally mature will exercise restraint and management in all directions. So, and that's really important. You want somebody who can exercise restraint even whenever life gets really good. Like winning the lottery, you win $500 million and you're like, well, cool, I can come up with a really decent investment portfolio, I guess. Okay, well, maybe maybe it's okay to celebrate in that situation. The people that captivate your attention, you went from here to like through the roof, like that. That's a bad sign. You actually want, and I've said this in other videos, you want to go for the people who, because you've been exposed to toxic psychology, so understand where I'm coming from on this. What you're defining as boring people, by comparison, because you're so used to the roller coaster ride, the people you consider boring, think about this for a minute. Why do you consider them boring? Because you're so used to your emotions going all sorts of different directions all at once. And when you meet somebody that doesn't produce that effect, it sort of switches you off because you're so used to being an emotional pinball machine, right? Pinball is not exactly the most stable game ever, right? What is? Chess or checkers? Well, those are some of the most popular. Chess is like one of the most popular games on the planet. Have you ever watched a chess match? Fuck no, you haven't. It's boring. But it's still a super popular game. Chess is far more popular than any one pinball machine ever, right? So you have to learn that what you're looking for and what you're using as your diagnostic criteria is unhealthy. And the thing is you've labeled what is healthy as uninteresting. And you've really got to turn your mindset around in that way. Because what you're perceiving as boring has a better word for it. Stable. I'll say that again. Your definition of boring is also what most people refer to as stable. And what you want is you want to be in the constant company of somebody who has little to no impact on your emotional state. Why? Because then you are free to have your own genuine feelings. Yeah, think about it like that, right? People are not boring. People respect your feelings and your right to have your own feelings without influencing you. And that's what you need to be looking for. You know, pinball machines are fun, they're flashy, all the lights go off, they got all the moving parts. Anyone who's ever run a game hall will tell you those things break all the time. You're always having to put new parts in them. They wear down physically over time. Chessboard? Now you straight for like forever, you know. Growing up, I'm sure everybody has had a chess set in their game cabinet growing up. And when you're an adult, it's still there. Unless you've lost a piece, it still functions the same way. That's your long-term stability, you know? Plus, playing chess and actually engaging with chess makes you smarter and wiser and smart and wise. Beep. These are the things you've got to think about when you're approaching other people. And it's so important when you're not just in a relationship, but within family, at your job, your co-workers, your work culture, friends that you choose, the company you keep. We are highly open to suggestion. And this is something that I told a good friend of mine the other day. Off topic. So think about all of this stuff. It's the speed at which they change your emotions that you've got to look at. And I'm out of time. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please like, comment, or share, and I'll see you on the next video.